Hello and welcome to the next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, I'm really excited that we're going to look at another aspect of AI today,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
email.
Yeah. AI email. This is going to be really interesting because, I've heard so much about this sort of area. So we have got RJ Talio from, I think, did you say it was Minneapolis? No, I might have got that wrong. Where?
Indianapolis.
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 Yeah.
And RJ Talia, welcome to the next 100 Days podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Glad to
So,
be here.
what's so special about Indianapolis then?
Oh, all sorts of things. I've lived here my whole life. Indianapolis is kind of the best of a big city with a small city feel. So there are about 1 million people here in Indy, and we've got great sports, great culture, great food, and good cost of living. So it's a good place to live.
Yeah,
Um, but I've traveled over your way a number of times, so
yeah,
we enjoy traveling. But I always love coming back home.
yeah. You don't stay too long, do you? I mean, we
No, no.
no, but overstay you're welcome. But no, no. Seriously though, no. You've created this. Well, first of all, we'll start with the website. It's called backstroke.com.
Mhm.
So if I
Yep.
went to backstroke.com, which is a brilliant name, by the way,
Nice.
um, what is it all about?
Yeah, so we work with e-commerce retailers. So if you're selling clothes or pet food or furniture or whatever, online as well as in store, what
Yeah.
Backstroke will do is generate performant email campaigns for you. So a lot of ecom brands spend, or they expect around 20 to almost 50% of their revenue to come through their email marketing program. And they're sending out three, four, five emails a week, maybe more, if you're a larger retailer. And that's, a lot of time. Customers spend between 8 and 12 hours to get a single email campaign out the door. And with all this new generative capability, Backstroke can generate the email in around 15 minutes. And then personalize it so that you, Graham, would get a different message than Kevin, and I would get a different message than everybody else. So the personalization plus generation piece really serves those ecom marketers in a great way because it drives more revenue and they don't have to do as much manual work to get it up or as many clicks to get it up and running.
That sounds really good for e-commerce marketers. So basically, you
Hmm.
you already know the person that you're emailing because they've
Hmm.
presumably bought something.
Right.
And so therefore you're able to just use that information, or do you have other information about Kevin and Graham that you can actually tailor the email to our situation?
Yeah, we can kind of meet you where you are. So if we know that you are a subscriber, we can do just some things with that. If we know what you opened, clicked, and converted or bought in the past, we can do with that. In the US, we use a service to append data to the profile to understand that RJ is male, that he's 47 years old, that he lives in Indianapolis, and use those attributes. So we can kind of progressively use the data that's available to personalize content.
Got you. So, if you don't have that additional information to, if you like, broaden your understanding of the individual,
Mhm.
what other options are open to you to personalize, for instance?
Well, you can always use progressive profiling using somebody's engagement or click data to assume things about them. So, Graham, if you always get, content for, if you get men's and women's content, but you're always clicking on the men's content, we can assume that you're interested in men's content or that you like brown or dark colored shirts,
Hmm.
versus Kevin likes lighter or whiter, shirts. But both of you are male. So you can use somebody's engagement activity to drive that. And that's always been the case. But the
Yeah.
problem is marketers don't want to sift through all of that data and do all the data analytics to figure it out. And that's really one of the benefits of using AI to identify patterns that are, clear like a dark shirt or a white shirt, but then maybe unclear. Maybe you are also shopping for someone else in your life or, those types of things that AI can help us discern patterns that maybe aren't immediately obvious to the human.
Well, I'm wearing today a shirt that was made by Son of a Tailor. They're based in
Mm.
Portugal, and
Mm.
my relationship with them started in a pretty poor way because they sent me this another shirt just like this, but it was too
Mm.
short. It was made for somebody who was about 4'2". And so and with my, shall we say, belly,
Yeah.
if I was a girl and I was showing a belly button, I think it would be a perfect shirt. So I
Yeah.
wrote to them and said, look, I'm not happy. But then they really kicked into action. And it's monogrammed as well, the shirt. And
Oh.
basically, and I just feel really comfortable in it. It's a fantastic quality shirt. But the point
Mm.
is, it started off on a real negative, and it's now
Hmm.
ended up with being something that's really come to the fore. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you use negative information such as that and that have been turned into
Yeah.
positive? And I would say now I'm just like I'm doing, I'm advocating a little bit, RJ, for Son of a Tailor. And I think
Yeah.
for me,
Mm.
anybody that kind of, cocks up and then
Hmm.
deals with it in such a, yeah, it looks like we've really messed up here.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
and then they fix it. You have to say quality company.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that story, Graham, because the reason you're telling that story is because those types of experiences are so rare. And you are advocating for it because it is a rare experience where somebody went from a negative to a positive and they took a specific interest in you. So yes, you can use those types of experiences to understand Graham has a negative perception of us currently, or had a negative but now has become a super fan. Like some sort of loyalty status or a flag within your data set. Absolutely. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, not a lot of marketers do that. But I think it's a big miss because I think that a lot of brands would say, hey, we don't have time to deal with Graham. We need to go deal with the other 1,000 customers because we've got a shipping issue or whatever. But the opportunity, especially in this AI world, is to be supremely human and to reach out to somebody who's unsatisfied with the product, make it right, and then have them tell the story because I'm guessing they're not paying you to say what you just said. And I've
No,
never heard of Son of a Tailor, and now I'm on their website. So
no.
it's like it's
Well,
those types of negative to positive stories that
well,
are
quality of
the
the shirt. So there's no question. I
Mm.
can't tell you how long I've been wearing this because you'd think it'd be reeking. But the point is, it was the truth is. No, the truth is, it really is. For me, I've not really had that many turnaround positive
Yeah.
stories in this area. But with you saying that you work in an e-commerce way,
Hmm.
they're an e-commerce brand, etc.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from my point of view, that information, you wonder just how well you're able to sort of stratify the
Yeah.
customer databases of these companies,
Yeah.
and to find those advocates because presumably you will have metrics that will enable you to do that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the cool things about the world we're living in now is that AI can take that unstructured data and then identify signal that maybe doesn't appear. So, like in a data set, you would appear normally as like purchase equals one,
Yeah,
amount equals X amount of euros or dollars or pounds or whatever.
yeah,
And then that would be kind of, you would show up like in an RFM model where like you recently frequency and then you bought X amount. But what you're describing is super cool because you can say, hey, this person had this experience and became an advocate through an adversarial first engagement. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. But the other thing is like if you were to buy a shirt for someone else in your life that was a different size,
yeah,
um, I always like talk about my Spotify feed. Like I have 4 children, and so I have my preferences, but then my kids have their preferences, and they bungle up my feed altogether. I mean, it just is a mess. And
yeah,
I think that what is cool about AI is that it can actually start to discern, okay, looks like there's this pattern and that pattern that RJ likes, acoustic stuff, but then my one son likes this AI generated like Spanish and Portuguese pop music. It's really kind of fun, that's like separate. So we can identify patterns there with, and then serve all of our customers.
wow. I mean, so AI then is really a quick look at your website, which I'm sure Kevin's done because he's famed for his research on this podcast. Hi, Kevin.
Hmm.
Oh,
But
I certainly am, Graham. Yes, I've been right through Backstroke website. Yeah.
well, one of the things that I picked out is it looks like you and your partner, wife, started the business. Is
Yes.
that how it is?
Yep.
And
Yes.
but the thing about your team, they seem to have a huge amount of understanding of AI. Now,
Mhm.
has that been built at Backstroke, or is that something that have you kind of imported that knowledge and then developed it when you've got there?
Well, both is the answer. So, in 2016, I started my first AI company that I worked for Salesforce for a while, and then previously at a company that was acquired by Salesforce. And
Mhm.
then in 2016, I started my first business that predicted what you would click on Instagram or Facebook.
Mhm.
And we built that platform up to using the some AI techniques, computer vision, natural language processing, predictive models. And you can argue whether it was AI or machine learning or whatever the case is, but it was early days.
Mhm.
And we worked with e-com retail brands, and I sold that business to Shutterstock. If you're familiar with Shutterstock, they
Yeah.
bought Backstroke and or Pattern 89 was my previous company, and I worked with some folks to build Pattern 89, and we were kind of toying with all these early capabilities. After we sold Shutterstock, we started Backstroke. And so
Mhm.
many of the people who were at Pattern 89 joined me on the Backstroke journey. And then we continue to augment with new team members who have a deep understanding of it. So it's kind of both. Like we bring in this legacy of 10 years of AI based marketing capabilities there. But I'll tell you, the pace of innovation from these foundational models from Anthropic or OpenAI or the others is literally like we're learning something every week, if not every day, and updating our models. So the foundational stuff came from the last 10 years, but we're innovating all the time. So and then you mentioned Allison, my wife. She and I co-founded the business. Her background is actually in analytical chemistry. So she has a PhD in deep data analysis of chemical reagents and stuff that don't understand. But the statistics background plus all the data science training that she has, is the foundation of a lot of these predictive models. So she brings in the rigor, the modeling, the prediction stuff, and then I know our customers and marketing.
So
So good
I,
combo.
I, I know Kevin's itching to ask a question, but I'll get another one in before he does. But basically, when you go into an e-commerce brand who've not engaged you hitherto,
Hmm.
and they've
Hmm.
got one level of result, and you
Hmm.
go in with this sort of wizzo system that
Hmm.
effectively can presumably it'll take a little bit of time to embed and to learn and so forth.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
presumably nowadays a lot less in terms of time.
Yeah.
And the kind of difference shift in terms of either response or conversion analysis. And I don't know,
Hmm.
is conversion the most important metric? Presumably.
Yes. Hmm.
So
Yes.
effectively, you've got that kind of metric. What kind of presumably uplift do you typically get with a new client?
Yeah. On average, it's 30%.
Wow. In
Yeah.
e-commerce, that's significant.
Good.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's a lot of fun to dazzle these customers with those types of results. And we've got kind of two levels of implementation. One that takes about a month to really fully transform your email program. But what's interesting, a lot of these e-com brands are like, "Hey, we want results now." And so last week we had a user conference where we had 140 e-commerce brands in New York to join us to explore AI as well as do all sorts of creative things like make drinks and make pasta and just kind of commune with each other. And we launched our newest capability, which we call Surge. And Surge allows you to get a campaign out the door in 48 hours. So it's kind of our fast demonstration of the predictive capabilities
Yeah.
in, just to kind of satisfy that itch because customers do. They're like, "Hey, how does this work?" And we'll say, "Well, give us a month and we'll onboard you and build all the models and blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "Yeah, but I need something now." So now we have the answer to the now.
See,
Mm.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
If you talk about an e-commerce business where you're mailing presumably a significant customer base that's going to be in the
Hmm.
thousands.
Yes.
If if I'm going to say, right, Monday I'm going to kick a newsletter campaign off or some sort of campaign to the say 10,000 people,
Hmm.
how many unique emails am I sending out in one mail shot? Is it
Woo.
actually to the extent that I'm sending out 10,000 different emails? And okay, I'm going beyond the
Yeah.
bit that we'd always customize by putting the
Yeah.
variables in for the customer's name and things like that.
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
are we genuinely saying it's possible to customize to that level?
Well, so yes, it's possible, Kevin, and we've not done it yet. To be honest, what we found is that customers want a human review on every version of the email that goes out. So the most we vary, like the most total variants that we've sent out to date, range between 60 and 100. And there are pieces and parts that are all variable so that it becomes an exponential variant, like this hero with that subject line and this template. So all the combinations of them, but customers do want to see and approve every different variant because ultimately they're on the hook for it.
Mm.
We've already built our first QA agent, but we're building some other QA agents that will allow exactly what you are talking about, but not in
What's
10,000, instead
QA?
10, sorry,
QA?
quality
QA?
assurance, quality
Quality assurance.
assurance.
Okay.
Yeah. So like a quality check.
Okay.
Um, and because we don't want to get to 10,000 variants, we want to get to 10 million. And if I'm creating 10 million variants of things using some of the generative capabilities, I want to be able to human check things. So imagine a scenario where, like, Graham,
Mhm.
you are wearing that shirt
Mhm.
for Son of a Tailor, but you're not in your office. You're instead at Wembley. Nope. Now you're on a beach. Nope. Now you're in the city. Nope. Now you're against a black background. So there's all these different variants of you wearing that. Maybe you're smiling, maybe you're with a partner, maybe you're with your children, maybe you're with a dog, all those different variants.
Yeah.
Um, Zoomed in, zoomed out with different offers and calls to action. Like that's what we can do today. But
Right.
all of those variants, the creative team normally wants to say yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, approved, not approved. And
How
that
do
at
they
scale,
how
sorry.
do they make their assessment of that though? Because is it just gut feel, or have they got some back catalogue of information that says, nah, that won't work, RJ. I mean, it's got to be like this, or is it? Do you just feel that?
I'll tell you what. Any creative director on the line will say two things to me. One, we have a brand guide, and the brand guide says that we only feature models who are between the ages of this and this, and those models are fit and handsome and intriguing, and they'll have these subjective variant, like these words to describe it, and they'll say we only use this color, we only show models who are facing forward, and we like they'll have these things. The performance marketer, who's often a different person, will say we know it works better when we show the shirt on laying on a bed, not even on a human, like it's just laying there on a bed or laying on a kitchen counter or something like that. So there's this battle for what does our brand stand for versus what performs. That's always the case. So it is gut feel, but then it's also whoever makes the decision in the business.
But surely, I mean, my direct marketing background would say that you resolve that through testing. This isn't like this isn't so new that shall we say
Sure.
email guys came up with it. It was the
Yeah.
DM guys who came up with it
Sure.
100 years
Yeah.
ago. So
Yeah.
surely
Totally.
testing resolves some of that, or is it just that brand, which is I always associate that with the Twin Set and Pearls Brigade, and basically, we can't possibly we can't possibly have somebody looking left. They've got to be
Yeah.
looking right,
Right.
and
Right.
it's that nonsense. But surely
Yeah.
it's resolved by your performance guys versus the
Yeah.
sort of brand guidance, and then
Yes.
who wins?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, Graham, so this, like, if we can get to the real talk, this is the actual crux of it all. That, like, yes, you test. What I find is that oftentimes look to the left or look to the right is a good example. The brand or the team will say like, we only have models who look to the left because we tested it. And then you say, when did you test it? And they're like, we tested it last June. I'm like, okay, so a year ago, the one test that you did where the model was looking to the left outperformed. They're like, no, 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 we did three tests and it's stat sig. Okay. So then there is no variation from the model looking to the left in the brown shirt until the next person comes in or the next test is done. So oftentimes it's like a one and done testing thing. And that's a responsible way to do marketing. That's good. But it misses opportunity. And if you truly want to say like, let's get creative, let's test a lot of things a lot of times to figure out where is the incremental opportunity. The other thing that we find, Graham, is that um, marketers cycle in and out of their jobs every 12 to 18 months,
Yeah.
especially in ecom. So we'll say, who did that test? And like, oh, well, Marjorie did that test. Where's Marjorie now? Oh, she's 2 jobs ahead now. Wait, so Marjorie did the test 2 jobs ago? Like, and we haven't tested it since? And our guidelines for the creative are based on somebody who doesn't work here anymore doing one test, a year ago. Like, that's all this stuff we tend to believe. And that's what, like, I come from creative land. I love creativity. It's so fun because with AI, you can like imagine all the possibilities, rapidly understand what possibilities are, and then test them. Like that's the cool thing that we get to do with Backstroke. And we gotta make money, right? Like that's the goal. But it's this like mix of people and politics and like brand that's this fuzzy thing that really matters, but it's still fuzzy. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is the life I live every day with our customers. So it's kind of fun to talk about with you guys.
It is. I think you almost have to be. I don't know. What's the right word? You're Mother Teresa inside, because if you've got these people who are coming up with these sort of um, arguments to sort of frustrate the growth that you've got embedded within Backstroke, then
Hmm.
it must frustrate you, because you've got, it's almost like you've got this capability that
Yeah,
I tell you what, that the 70% of this capability we don't want, thanks very much, because we've got
yeah,
guidance. And I just find it really, really very frustrating that you're facing that, because if you're onto something with AI, and in
yeah,
the house, Kevin works with AI, I work with AI. If you're onto something with AI, you almost desire that person at the other side of the table
yeah,
to have almost like a some liberation within their thinking that enables them to test, enables them to
yeah,
to go forward, because it's
yeah,
and it is frustrating. And
yeah.
I wonder how you cope with that.
Well, it can be frustrating. I've been an entrepreneur now for 10 years. And what the mistake I made in my previous business was I was trying to convince people to change.
Mm,
And what I found is that about 10 in 100, like one out of every 10 conversations that I have is actually a good one. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll change. I want to change. I want to do this." But they'll quickly show their colors and they'll say, "Well, but we got to get these approval." And then I say, "No problem. I'll call you in a year. Call you in 6 months. Let me just call you later because this isn't a fit." And but the cool thing is that 1 in 10 marketers is doing cool stuff with AI. They have freed themselves up, and that's where I spend all of my energy and time. Now I still run into the challenges that you're talking about that are frustrating, but I've instead of like trying to battle that battle, I say, no, no, no. Who can I go to? What customer actually wants to do this? And is willing to pay because we're a business, who's willing to make the change and pay. Because if um, I made the mistake of trying to convince people. I also joke that, in startup land, everybody wants to stand close to the fire. Like a lot of people want to spend time next to startups. And a lot of times they just want to sort of be near it because they know that the innovation's coming from it. They want to be aware of it. And a lot of work that I end up doing is around education. Like, let me tell you about the innovators and people who work for bigger companies or less innovative companies. And those aren't actually always the same, but they tend to be larger, more bureaucratic organizations. They will call me and be like, "Hey, let's do another demo. Let's talk again." And I'm like, I have to kind of assess, like, is this an opportunity, a business opportunity for me? If not, hey, let me direct you to some other resources because I've gotten, it's like when you're trying to go on a date with a girl who doesn't want to go out with you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
yeah.
I would say it's a sort of a case of in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man's king, and I think the I think that's one of the we're in that sort of situation now that
Hmm.
people are at different stages of adoption of AI, and there are some
Hmm.
really capable people who are starting to put into place. I work with a guy from Montana called Dr.
Hmm.
Flint McLaughlin, and Flint and his team have built Mech Labs AI.
Oh yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Okay, well, and I'm over
Mm.
here in the UK, and I've worked with Flint for a while now, and I followed his
Mm.
work for God knows how many years. And
Yeah.
the thing about it is that I'm learning so much. It's truly challenging for me, and Flint
Yeah.
knows this, and in some ways we're evolving the service to become more intuitive. So in other words, you don't need to be RJ Talia to actually understand it or better
Mm.
still, your wife.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Be
You
her.
know,
Yeah.
I think I figured out
Yeah.
who's the brains of all of this,
Yes, that's about right. Yeah.
but forgive me. But the idea of almost like leveraging AI to be your thinker, which is so logical, but
Mm.
to do that is
Hmm.
some challenge technically, and I think that
Yeah.
that's where we're at the moment is the ability to sort of say, yeah, I want this agent, and I want that
Hmm.
app, and I want this go away and it goes away and
Yeah.
fixes that for you.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
think this is like, I'll be honest with you, the last month, if that. I mean,
Hmm.
and so a month earlier, I was grappling with something else, but now
Yeah.
this system can actually build itself,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
so scarily good. But
Yes.
it's
Mm.
not necessarily in your field, but we have applications in lead gen and so forth. But this isn't
Hmm.
about MechLabs. Forgive me for talking about
Mm.
it, but
No,
but
it's great.
what I'm interested in about Backstroke is where does AI fit into your product that it didn't fit in when you maybe man, you probably conceived of AI within your
Hmm.
product. Your product wouldn't be
Yes.
there without AI. So
Yes.
where is it leveraging the most value? If you could
Mm.
put it into words.
Yeah. Yeah. I describe, like the five W's of marketing, like who, what, where, why, when, what, or, we're the what.
Right.
So we're the what? Like what content are you going to send to that person?
Yeah.
What is the subject line? What is the preview? What does the template look like? What is the content in the hero? What is the content in the first product displayed to the individual? What is the offer next to that content? All of that what is backstroke.
Yeah.
And we know, for example, that 46% of your clicks happen in the first 400 pixels. So what's going in there? What's going in there for a man versus a woman, a man who's bought 15 things from you, a man who hasn't bought anything from you, a man in Montana versus a man in Indiana versus the UK. Like
Yeah.
we're the what?
Got you. So if one of the things I struggle with my other business, which is basically at finding, say, investors or high net worth individuals and sending email campaign. We're doing one for a whiskey cask company next week,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's like, well, how do I? And it's largely text, although you could argue, a few pictures of barrels or people drinking whiskey or something might help.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Dan Kennedy thing in my head that says, if you put a picture in there, it's got to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to work more than its space, etc. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking,
Mm-hmm.
are there any tips that you have for marketers who use emails that they, by sort of potentially using LLMs, that they could actually create something that's going to give them a better than average chance of success?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're using a standard LLM, I would upload all of your previous email data into it and then upload your creative and then ask the machine what are the creative dimensions of the campaigns that win. That would be an easy way to understand, what are the creative dimensions
Got it.
of it. So they're not going to get into the subscriber level stuff, but that could be
Mm.
a way to do better than average for sure.
Mm. Okay. Kevin, you're itching for another question. Yeah, it's a podcast, Kevin. There we go.
Ajay, one of the things that frustrates me about some of the companies that I get emailed from regularly, and actually companies I really like, is that they're sending me just plain too much email, and
Yeah,
I then
yeah,
just automatically ignore it.
yeah.
Is this a genuine way that you can start sending less email to people rather than more and get better results from less?
Yeah, well, yes is the short answer to that because if we're sending you content that's more to your liking, you're going to engage with it at a higher rate, and their performance of the email program is going to lift. So maybe they would send fewer emails. But email is a frequency game. And it's been proven over and over again that you want to be top of the subscriber's inbox. So that's why they're sending so much email. They want just to be top of your inbox. So when you are ready to buy, they'll that you'll be, in their sites. But my first job out of school was out of college was I was a deliverability consultant. And so we're kind of now delving into way back in the early aughts when the same principles that were true then are true today, which is deliverability is a combination of technical factors as well as engagement. So opens, clicks, the engagement in the email factor into whether or not that email shows up in your inbox. So Kevin, as long as you are opening and clicking on those emails, they're going to continue coming your way. So you're kind of right like feeding the beast on that one a little bit.
Yeah,
But
this is a
yeah,
frustrating thing, RJ, that at
yeah,
company, you've
yeah,
actually got to open the email and have a look through it to realize that actually, oh, in this particular one, there's nothing for me.
yeah, yeah,
Now, I
yeah,
could see that lovely thing if they've got an AI algorithm that actually understands me, which part of their product range I'm interested
yeah, yeah.
in, and what I've already bought from them, so they're not going to try and sell me that again.
Yes,
They can
yes,
actually
yes,
create an email that's
yeah,
pretty interesting
yeah,
when
yeah.
I open
And
it.
then
Makes a
match to
whole lot more
the
sense.
Yeah, and then match the frequency of when you're most likely to engage. Or like if you bought something for a gift last year for a birthday, that they know to hit you maybe a month before that birthday comes up again or
Yeah.
something.
And in
So
fact,
that's
Kevin never looks at these emails on Monday
yes,
morning. You'll probably end up
yeah,
with them when he's bored halfway through Wednesday afternoon. So
that's right, that's right,
let's make
yeah.
that the time that we send Kevin an email.
Yeah, you're describing the when problem.
Yeah.
And we can like as a startup, we've just chosen to go solve the what
Yeah.
problem, which will impact what you're describing. But there's, send time optimization, which is when are you most likely to whatever. But then there's also like the who should be included in this segment. So again, there's all these questions that you can answer from a marketing strategy perspective, but we've like just we're solving the what, but
Yeah.
your problem is fair and a common complaint of email, which is also why a lot of customers have now shifted or marketers have shifted to say, hey, we're going to send text messages now.
Yeah.
And then now they're spamming our text inboxes and creating a different problem.
Do you do you serve clients who are e-commerce to business, or is it e-commerce to consumers? I mean, presumably
Consumers. Yeah,
it's
yeah. We
so
focus
it's
on
consumers.
consumers.
So
Hmm.
that I don't. There must. Well, no, of course there must be e-commerce sites for business. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
stationery and stuff like that. So,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that's not your field.
No, no,
Yeah.
we're focused on consumer businesses, just from like in training our algorithms. Like somebody who buys like an item that's maybe an impulse purchase or a piece of clothing is very different than somebody who's buying a mattress or a
Yeah.
car. And so we've really developed individual models for those different considered purchases versus impulse, but not on the B2B side, just on the
And
B2C consumer.
do you focus on those e-commerce brands that serve North America, or are you global?
We focus specifically on North America, mostly because of a language basis. Because when you get into Europe, we end up with many languages, but then also the privacy requirements are different. So, our vision is to expand across the globe, and I've done that before with other businesses, but right now we're focused on North America.
But I mean, it's such a big area anyway. I mean, it's
Yeah.
especially for e-commerce brands. I mean,
Hmm.
you don't have to name names, but the biggest e-commerce brands that you deal with in that North America space
Yeah.
is it apparel or is it something?
Yep.
It's mainly
Apparel, furniture, clothing. So we work with brands like Third Love. They make women's intimates. Cozy Earth is a customer of ours. They make bedding, Helix mattresses, those types of brands.
got you. So
Yeah.
you've probably got all of these in your home, haven't you? Because they'll have spotted you a few of these, won't they? Well
You know
done,
what's
RJ.
funny is I we have a so I do have Cozy Earth, but there's always a weird they're such a great partner, but we have some towels that my wife bought, but you feel a little bit awkward to be like, oh, can I have a discount code? So we paid full price for those. The one thing that we have gotten a nice deal on is Emile Henry sells like kind of like stock pots and great pots and pans. They're really amazing. They're a French brand,
Yeah,
and we've gotten some nice stuff from them. So,
yeah.
and I'm a big cook, so those are great.
Wow. Well, yeah, I've got to say, I'm not much of a cook. My colleague is in Indian, and she comes in and 3 days a week she actually makes something for lunch. Nothing big, but
Oh,
just and it is different, different.
ah,
Honestly, and my I can tolerate more spices now.
yeah,
But yeah, that's another story. So
love it.
if you had to say to yourself, I mean, AI's grown so quickly, um, and if you had to say to yourself, our 5 year plan, maybe not even our 5 year plan, but let's just say our 3 year plan includes what that's going to make you look different.
Well, I've got about an 18-month roadmap, Graham. Just to be really fair, because I feel like it's changing so quickly, but
Yeah,
you know, we're building predictive marketing agents. That's what we're building,
yeah,
so that your marketing can effectively be completed in a predictive and generative way by these, and that
yeah,
you, as the human, become the brand steward, the strategist, those types of things.
yeah.
And as I think about that, it'll be across email and other digital channels, including SMS or apps or landing pages, et cetera. So that's where we're headed from a business perspective.
And of course, those things can be made to, because we know we have some experience at our end of generate very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And although I'm pushing them, I'm pushing them to personalize, particularly the landing pages.
Yeah.
Um, did a bit of that, oddly enough, about 10 years ago, but no, 15 years ago.
Mm.
But that was a lot more Heath Robinson, but nonetheless, it was personalized
Yeah.
and linked to direct mail as it happens. But that's another story. But
Mm.
Kevin, I think RJ has brought to us a sense of excitement about this e-commerce area. What question haven't I asked, Kevin? Because I'm sort of excited about all of this.
Yeah, I'm I can see that this is potentially a fantastic move forward, but there is one thing I'd like to explore a little bit further, RJ. You talk about this being a North American product, and
Hmm.
there's the language problem in Europe, but you also
Hmm.
mentioned the data problem in Europe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, what element of the European data privacy rules actually gets in the way of this?
Yeah, I'm really familiar with GDPR, and we just want to make sure there. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just that if I go sell to a European company, they're going to ask me, "Are you compliant with these certain security protocols?" And my answer will be, "Yes, we are." And then they're going to say, "Show me the compliance documentation," and I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
So, it's a matter of getting prepared for other markets that we would just need to do before we entered them. We same thing. We are now SOC 2 compliant, which is a security protocol that is required by many enterprise businesses.
Mhm.
And I didn't go try to sell enterprise businesses before we had that certification because I just know that we're going to get marketers excited about what we do. We're going to say, hey, let's do a POC, and then it's going to fall flat because we don't have that. privacy or security protocol and paperwork that I can hand to their team. So we'll get there. And I've done it before, but want to be ready when we do so that we don't, get disqualified for a certification, which is it's not easy to get, but we just need to have it before we go.
So
Yeah.
if somebody's listened to this who's in the sort of e-commerce field, RJ,
Hmm.
how and they're in America because we have a lot of
Hmm.
business in America, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And what would they do to sort of find you? How would they, engage with you?
Yeah, I mean, we're backstroke.com. I grew up swimming, which is why my company's called Backstroke. And backstroke.com is where you can find us, or you can email me, RJ at backstroke.com. And I'll tell you, I'm interested in working with European businesses and what I would want to. So if someone who's in the UK or Europe wants to chat, let's talk. But I'm looking for that 1 in 10, that really innovative person who's going to say, hey, we want to work with you. And then we just need GDPR or other security requirement and for the right partner, yep, let's go.
That's
I just want to be proactive in it. So I don't want to disqualify anybody that's interested in having that conversation.
Well, that's brilliant, RJ. RJ, thank you so much for joining Kevin and I today on the next 100 Days podcast.
Fred, I really like that. If there's anything that can make email in my inbox more relevant to me and more readable, well, I, as a customer, I'm all for it.
I think that was a really smart observation that you made, Kevin. I genuinely think it gets to the heart of the challenge that these people have. And one of the things you said was, I want you, could you get it to do less rather than more? Which, if you think about it, is just the opposite of what people want to do. They want to
Yes,
send you more because they think you're going to react more or you're going to have more chance of it sticking. When in fact, all you're doing is triggering that I hate this company. And because they're sending me too much stuff. And I
yes,
think that's where your observation came in. Anybody listening to this will know because we all have inboxes. And getting too much of something is really it's deflating, I think, because you start with a high expectation, especially if you bought something and you are a subscriber. But for them then to think that, well, this guy doesn't mind that getting an email every third hour, and it's that I do.
yeah. But I think it is interesting, Graham, if and RJ is completely focusing his product on the what do we tell people? I think if you can get AI then in answering some of these further problems, like when do we tell them,
Mm.
or how do we tell them? There are lots of other questions across those dimensions of email. I think AI and email is going to be really, really powerful going forward.
Well, I mean, I think these are not unattached to each other, are they? Because I
Hmm.
mean, what you're
Oh,
telling people and when you're telling me, they are linked.
hmm,
Because different times of the day we might have different almost personalities.
yes,
And to your point about, Monday's much more of a transactional day. Friday, well, you think about the weekend, now you're going to mail that. There's all kinds of timings that get in the way of results. But I think, we're talking to an expert here in what you send to people using all the sort of granular information that clients have got, and then they append other data to profile you to get to know more about you.
hmm, yeah. Exciting times, Graham.
It is. It is. It's AI is growing really quickly, and I know that we're both involved in it. What we should do at some stage is compare notes and exchange knowledge that we've both got from our own experiences. But
There's a definite plan for a future episode.
well, there you are. So today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.